Hi, my name is Jessica Roth. That's Jessica-Roff as in Frank. I work for Catskill Mountain Keeper. I want to talk about the cumulative impacts of all gas infrastructure that you all need to be considering together, because we are literally being strangled from every direction with gas infrastructure. This especially includes cumulative health impacts, because let's remember that even when compressor stations operate as they are intended, they make people sick from dangerous emissions. While we're talking about public health, we must also talk about emergency response and preparedness, which is never talked about and never a part of your evaluation. This should be a threshold question and not an afterthought. Even the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration has essentially said that the system is broken. They funded a study showing that for emergencies such as pipeline explosions and leaks, there is no standardization of safety monitoring equipment, no established communication systems, no clear chain of command. Not to mention the fact that along most pipeline routes in New York State, the first responders are actually mostly volunteer corps. This means that they have limited resources and limited training, largely because of the fact that pipeline explosions and leaks are considered to be low-frequency, high-impact incidents. Unfortunately, they are no longer a low-frequency incident. They're happening more and more with every passing day, that more and more high-pressure, large-scale pipelines are being built, more are leaking, more are exploding, more are causing massive harm. In fact, just as I was sitting here waiting to get up here and testify, I read about another leak in Canada, in Alberta. The largest oil leak in the history of Alberta happened yesterday. The news just got out today. 5 million liters leaked into water in Alberta, Canada. So, as you continue to rubber stamp company after company with terrible safety records to build pipeline after pipeline and compressor station after compressor station, you are continuing to add to the destruction of our communities, of our land, of our livelihoods, and of our lives. It's time to stop the madness and stop the natural gas takeover of New York State. If we treat safety and emergency response and preparedness as a threshold question, there is no way to say anything other than no to all of this build out. You know what you should do? What you can do? You can shock all of us. You can do your jobs. For once, you cannot rubber stamp this process. You cannot rubber stamp this actual project. And instead, you can protect the people of the United States and of New York State and not the oil and gas industry. Because they don't need it, and we actually do.
Thank you for your comment. 35. Number 35. Also, 40 through 45 should be in the front row.
Wes Gillingham. I'm the program director of Catskill Mountain Keeper. It's WESGILLINGHAM. As my colleague just mentioned, cumulative impacts. I'm thinking of your presentation. Your presentation included things that you look at in this process. And you mentioned cumulative impacts, but then you go on to say, don't mention fracking, because fracking has nothing to do with this. That is a bold-faced lie.
Yeah!
That borders on ridiculous legal loopholes that you hide behind. FERC should be looking and analyzing the impacts to the Marcellus shale fields in Pennsylvania and West Virginia if you open up new markets through the Constitution Pipeline, the NED Pipeline, the AIM Pipeline, a Dominion project, the pipeline invasion that is happening to New York State. As part of cumulative impacts, you're a federal agency, you need to look at multi-state issues. You are creating a multi-state travesty by allowing these pipelines to go through. The New York State Medical Society and the American Medical Association has asked for legislation that would make a comprehensive health impact assessment a necessity for any new pipelines. Why are they asking for that? Because across the country, this process is not working, and a comprehensive health impact assessment is a legitimate way, recognized around the world, for a way to analyze a proposal and to see what those impacts are to communities and the region. You are clearly not doing that. You've sat here now for hours listening to testimony of people who have this going through their backyard, People who drove hours to get here because they are outraged that you're allowing these pipelines to go forward. You give 3 minutes of testimony for a process that takes years, 3 minutes of public testimony asking what you should be looking at. That's a good zinger to end on. This is outrageous. And I just want to mention one last thing. I was reminded of it when the man from Franklin came up here. Normal operating procedure. Normal operating procedure at the compressor station in Hancock included emptying 9 miles of pipeline and impacting the people that lived right there with benzene, toluene, and other toxic volatile organic compounds from that pipeline. And it was a normal operating procedure. They were exposed to that at really high levels, and we have documentation to prove that. We will be submitting that. But you know what? The people that were evacuated when that happened, it wasn't because they were going to be breathing toxic fumes that were going to impact their health. It was because the noise levels were too loud. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. I want to make a point of clarification. Yes, you only have 3 minutes to speak at this public hearing. However, you may submit as many and as long written comments and details as you desire. Number 36.
And they are ignored with equal weight as the.
Bill, please, no comments.
David Hutchison, Hutchison. I've got a master's degree in geology, PhD in geology, taught for 32 years. I'm on the environmental board for the city of Oneonta, and I'm also a member of the board of Otsego 2000, both of which have been very actively involved in the issues that we're dealing with here. At the beginning, you made comment that you were going to be looking at FERC is going to look at land use, which is fine, effect on towns and cities, fine, groundwater, which is fine, air quality, which is fine. But I wonder, really, are they going to be looking at global warming? And that is the biggest elephant in the room. And methane, CO4, is anywhere from 30 to 40 to 50 times worse than carbon dioxide as a global warming. If you want, and I hope this is something that the environmental group will be looking at, the people that have done major work on this, collected lots of data, have published in major journals, 2 professors from Cornell. And I want to get them on the record here. Robert Horwith, Horowith, also Anthony Ingrafia, Ingrafea. These 2 professors have gathered the data, have published highly credible documentation. And they are saying, the conclusions of their works, that natural gas, methane, by the time you mine it, drill it, and get the methane that's lost with the drilling, by the time you transport it, use it, etc., methane, natural gas, is no better than dirty, lousy, rotten coal. So the idea that we are going to be encouraging more fracking to get methane to ship overseas to be used wherever on the surface of the earth it's being used, it's still going to affect global warming. So it's something you must look at. It wasn't mentioned. Maybe it was just inadvertently missed. How can you not look at global warming?
Speaker number 37.
Yes, good evening. My name is Frank Marchesi, Marchese. I apologize if my comments are a little bit scattered. I was nearly accosted by a lunatic in an orange shirt from this room outside the doors. He's been removed from the premises. I was also nearly accosted by a film crew from California that I guess drove here tonight for the meeting. But you know, I first of all want to thank FERC for having these hearings. I also attended in Albany both on Tuesday and Wednesday night, and we attended a lot of the hearings for Constitution. So thank you. I'm embarrassed by the behavior of the people in this room that are attacking you consistently throughout the night. The audacity in this room is really unbelievable. There's a process in place in this state and in this country. If you don't like it, I suggest you move to Canada. What you folks did, what you perpetrated, and I mean perpetrated, in December of 2014 was the biggest lie and the biggest farce ever perpetrated on the people of this state. You took an interim health commissioner with data from the 1980s and you bird-dogged a governor into a decision that impacted 25,000 jobs in the southern tier. 25,000 jobs. I travel all around this state for these hearings, okay? You should cheer yourself, folks. If you open a Walmart Supercenter, you'd all be cheering for that too, for 100 part-time jobs. Yet you pissed away 25,000 good-paying jobs in this area. And sir, you can shake your head all you want. All the experts are in this room, but there's a process in place. The New York State DEC has a process, and FERC has a process. If you don't like it, move to Canada. See how their process works for you. But it's my home also, man. My members live here. My members own homes here. My members have families here. You talking like we all live in a vacuum here. You're not the only ones that live in these counties. We live in Albany. We live in Schoharie. We live in Otsego, and we live in Broome. So let's cut the nonsense here about you're the folks that live here. We live here also. You come up here and talk and like there's no consequences to your actions. You forced our governor and Dr. Zucker, who lied about his family, which he does not have. The premise of the governor's decision was based on Dr. Zucker's recommendation that his family and his children would not live near a fracked area. Well, Dr. Zucker's not married and he doesn't have children. Let that be a mirror image of what this process is all about. It's a lie. You perpetrated a lie. And you should be very proud of yourself when you leave here tonight and drive by empty storefronts and foreclosed on homes. It's a disgrace, and your behavior tonight is a disgrace. God bless America.
Thank you for your comment. Number 38.
That's a hard one to follow. My name is Kathy Simberg, K-A-T-H-Y-S-H-I-M-B-E-R-G. I live in Otsego County, not terribly far away from where the pipeline and compressor station would be. You probably have gathered by now from everybody who's spoken that we feel betrayed by FERC. I haven't got my comments very well organized. I will try and submit them in writing later, but as far as we can tell, FERC is ignoring cumulative impacts by way of unlawful segmentation, among other things. On the Constitution pipeline, we submitted massive numbers of comments, including comments to the DEIS, many of which seem to have been ignored in the Constitution's FEIS. As far as we can tell, FERC never denies an industrial build-out. Possibly is it paid by the industry itself? Environmental impacts are not sufficiently included or regulated. We have cited a lot of them. They don't seem to have made sufficient impact on FERC or on the companies themselves. Mitigation, in quotes, we think is a sham and doublespeak. As others have said, it is impossible to mitigate some of the hazardous aspects, some of the destruction, and environmental impacts should include human, animal, and plant health. People are suffering from eminent domain, including anxiety, mental health, which is part of health, eminent domain, taking of people's homes and land, often from a desk in a distant city without real awareness of the lay of the land, the structures on it, ecological features not apparent from the air or from previous reports or desktop modeling, quote unquote, or incorrect maps. That's an outrage and injustice and not for public convenience and necessity. in our area here, which is just a pass-through and route to export for monetary gain for the drilling and pipeline and transport and construction company owners at our expense. Property tax reductions due to property value reductions don't benefit either the homeowners, property owners, or local community and its businesses, or the town tax base. People who will need to sell or leave for their health and their kids' health will lose value in selling, and potential home buyers are often refused mortgages, and homeowners insurance companies refuse to insure due to high risk, or else will charge unaffordably high premiums, which are unaffordable. People's lives are totally disrupted along with their health and happiness. This is not democracy. FERC is complicit in affirming this takeover by letting industry and corporate greed displace our citizens, ruin our environment, destroy local beauty and livability, thriving communities.
I'm sorry, but your time is up.
Oh, just half a sentence more. Thriving in many ways and continue to endanger the climate, planet, and all species on Earth, life as we know and value it. Thank you.
And of course, if you have more detailed comments, you may submit them in writing. Number 39 is up, and I'd like number 40 and 45 to be in the front row good to speak.
Hi, my name is Fred Boatwell. I'm a 43-year resident of New York State, as is my entire family. I'm a union member. I'm proud of everything Frank Marchesi just said. I'd just like to reiterate it. If, just my thought, if we just shut off every gas pipeline in this state, in about a week everybody wouldn't be able to cook their food, they wouldn't be able to drive their car, they wouldn't be able to buy clothes. They'd be begging us to turn them all back on. I know that for a fact. A lot of people in here are hypocrites, so it's really aggravating to even sit here and listen to them. But one thing I do know is our laborers are trained to work safely, drug-free, on the work site, to do this work properly, and to get this done in a timely fashion, and it's energy we do need, and proud to be a union member, and thank you, God bless America.
Thank you for your comment. Number 40.
Hello, my name is Richard Reich, R-E-I-C-H. I am from Cooperstown, New York, and I've been a union laborer for over 26 years and in favor of this pipeline. This project will create many well-needed man-hours for our members who live, pay taxes, and raise their families here. Our local unions will be able to provide skilled, trained, experienced pipeline professionals who have safely built gas lines in New York State for over 60 years. This project, when completed, will add to the gas line infrastructure of New York and help empower our economy and our energy future. It will also allow us to provide a reliable fuel source to our homes and businesses that we so desperately need. Kinder Morgan has proved that they are able to build, operate, and maintain pipelines in this country for over 60 years. And I also believe that we will, while we work towards creating other clean, renewable energy, which we are all in favor of, that we must complete this project to keep up with the massive demand for fuel sources to power our homes and businesses. Kinder Morgan has also already signed an agreement with the Laborers International Union to use our skilled, trained workforce, which we have diligently worked to prepare for, by providing our members with many hours of pipeline safety classes, which includes all aspects of pipeline installation, to prepare them for any scenarios that they may encounter on the job. This includes how to eliminate or reduce any chance of possible environmental accidents, and how to quickly and safely deal with them in the rare event that something were to happen. Kinder Morgan is one of the largest and most experienced energy companies in North America. They own interest in and operate approximately 80,000 miles of pipeline and over 180 terminals and compressors. They also employ approximately 11,500 people through the U.S. Kinder Morgan is committed to operating their assets in a safe, ethical, and transparent manner. They also ensure public safety, safe line pipeline operation through employee training, regular testing, and right-of-way aerial and foot patrols. Kinder Morgan is also active on the community and regularly purchases land for communities such as ours to create permanent wildlife habitats. Other project benefits would be new power generation markets where service is currently unavailable, as well as replacing declining historical gas services. It will also ease costly bottlenecks and lower gas and electric prices for consumers. Kinder Morgan has also fund programs that promote the academic and artistic interests of young people in the many towns across Northeast where Kinder Morgan operates. In closing, I would like to say that an estimated 21 million jobs will be created to local, or $21 million will be created to local taxing bodies in New York State. An estimated 3,000 construction-related jobs, as well as economic benefits to surrounding areas during construction, such as hospitals, retail, etc.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Thank you.
Speaker number 41. Number 42. Number 43.
Hi, my name is Abby Tennis. That's ABBYTENNIS. I just want to talk a little bit about fossil fuels and how they're limited. So there are only 3 fossil fuels in the world: coal, natural gas, and oil. And we've used up more than half of them already on the face of the earth, whether or not they are easy or safe to access. And that's been over a couple of hundred years. We really only have a couple of hundred years left of fossil fuels. So it's really short-sighted and a poor use of our resources to be investing our money, our time, our labor, not to mention risking our health and our water to build new infrastructure for fossil fuels that are on their way out. This organization needs to be looking at climate change and also impacts on human health, water quality, air quality. Thank you.
Number 44, please. My name is Casey Mullaney, CASEYMULLANEY, and I live in Delaware County, New York. I'm opposed to the pipeline. Like many New Yorkers, I'm also opposed to hydrofracking. We've made it extremely and abundantly clear that fracking is the wrong choice for New York. So why are we proposing infrastructure that only serves as a handmaiden to this destructive technology? We already know that this gas will be shipped out of state. They want to sell it overseas. Why should our land and roads and communities be destroyed and our water polluted to make a profit for private outside investors? Proponents of this project say that it will create jobs. I'm a farm worker and a housekeeper at a bed and breakfast, both locally owned Delaware County businesses. Our economy is dependent on agriculture and tourism. The pipeline would destroy our livelihoods for the sake of a few short-term, temporary jobs. It's not a fair trade. I'm tired of living under colonial rule in Delaware County. I'm tired of the gas companies treating us like a nuisance to be swept away and silenced so they can steal our land and natural resources. It is our towns, our communities, and our children who will pay the health, social, and economic price for this project. We said no to the Constitution pipeline. Deny the application. We don't want this pipeline either. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Number 45 and 46 through 50 should be in the front row, ready to speak. 45?
Hello. My name is William Houston, Huston, and thank you for holding this sham hearing. Whenever you say the thing about, you can continue to file written comments, I like the part when you say, and those comments will have equal weight as your spoken comments, i.e., nothing. Because we've seen it before. I'm really curious as to the psyche of people that can sit here and hear this day after day. How many hearings do you go to? Dozens. Because I've seen you at other hearings. I saw you 2 days ago. How can you keep hearing this? One thing that we really would like to see is whistleblowers. We want to see people working for FERC, that something clicks, something that somebody, some teary-eyed person talking about their land being stolen, or 100 people. I don't know what it's going to take, but wouldn't it be, I imagine that this is possible, that you and maybe the FERC commissioners, maybe they'll watch the video of this, and maybe, just maybe, someday there's going to be a change inside FERC, and we're going to be able to reach somebody, because we feel like that this mic really isn't connected. It's really not going anywhere. And you're going to find out really soon that I want to be very careful about how I say this, because I am 100% committed to nonviolence. And I am very much motivated by the We Are Seneca Lake movement, because they have a very high commitment to nonviolence. But within that structure of nonviolence, we are going to do any means necessary to stop you and to shut down FERC, because you're a criminal agency. You are violating the law dozens of ways. You're violating the orders of the courts. You are a rogue criminal agency, and we are going to shut you down.
Thank you for your comment. Number 46. And 46 through 50 should be sitting in the front row.
I'm going to time myself here. Lisa Barr. I live in Oneonta, although I wish a safe travel home to all the boys from Newburgh. They have a 4-hour drive. They don't live here. So, sir, why did you allow them to violate this public hearing? This is supposed to be for us to talk about our local impact. Not that it's that important, and I'll get to that. I asked you to review and make part of your record for this hearing on this pipeline. All previous hearings, scopings or otherwise, for the Stop the Constitution pipeline, and all the hearings in Pennsylvania when the industry failed to respond and jeopardized not just the people who live there, but the people they employ to protect them, the first responders. I worry about the fine young men in uniform back there, because I hope they retire before the fracking begins, because they're not going to be able to handle the explosions that this irresponsible industry is going to perpetrate. They have so many blow-ups, and if you go, and you can go online and see any of the public hearings when they've had incidents, and it's terrible, the way this is not a responsible industry. All FERC employees should go to a public library and download this week's Intercept article by Glenn Greenwald about the safe drop box for whistleblowers. Your agency, unfortunately, is a fraud by design, funded by the very industry it purports to regulate. FERC is the very definition of a captured regulatory agency. This pipeline is also a violation of the Geneva Convention by its financial links to the contractors employed by the fracking industry, such as Halliburton and the Soldier of Fortune company, also named Blackwater or XE. It is a militarization of the interior U.S. and nothing less, and we have evidence that these spy agencies are also working with our local law enforcement, which is another betrayal. My thoughts are a little bit disorganized because we didn't get much notice for this hearing, and I have an eye injury, so I'm just going to speak. I'm a good American. My dad fought in World War II. My opinion, the only good battle that this country has ever fought. He was in the Battle of Saragosse Straits and Leyte Gulf. He was a VFW post commander. I'm the winner of a Voice of Democracy competition. When you hold a hearing like this in the dog days of summer with so little notice, it shows a lack of respect for U.S. citizens living along the path or needing to engage in commercial or social travel within the pipeline's so-called burn zone. Less importantly, you are violating landowner rights. I say it's less important because George Washington and his gang of slaveholders made it possible for all of us to have our names on property deeds for land stolen from Native Americans. To FERC and all in this room, pro and con, it's time to grow up. We don't live in a democracy. The military has taken over our government. I ask all FERC employees to, at some point, I think that all of your links, all of your emails will be exposed where you've been dealing with these military contractors by WikiLeaks.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Yeah, I bet.
Number 47.
Hello, my name is Josh Santiago, Santiago, and I'm going to opt out of using the microphone. I worked at Franklin Central School District and I taught the dramatic arts, so I hope you can all hear me. Franklin is the town where the compressor is proposed to be built, and when my students can't agree, I like this exercise. It's my favorite exercise. Who is for the pipeline and compressor? Who is against it? Yes! Democracy is not dead, nor can it die, because then we will die. And thank you, FERC, for having this hearing. And I just did your job for you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Number 48.
I'm from Johnstown. My name's Bill Kitchen. That's Kitchen like the room, Bill like McKibben. Thank God for Bill McKibben. It was, I think, about 25 years ago that Bill McKibben wrote The End of Nature. It was the first book written for a general audience about climate change. And so much of what he wrote has come true so much quicker than even the experts thought it would. I think just a night or two ago on the news, you see people getting swept away and killed in Kentucky. Not too long ago, there were reports of in India, people dying from the heat waves. A year or two ago, we had an elderly woman on a small creek in Fort Plain get swept away, found a few days later dead in the Mohawk River. It's kind of like what's going to be the climate catastrophe on the news this evening. And you just expect it, you know it's coming. And all the experts that said this was going to happen were right. Now those experts are telling us that methane is no better, probably worse. The last speaker talked about democracy, and hopefully democracy is not dead. But I think we have to remember that at election time, to my knowledge, every one of the FERC commissioners, Republican and Democrat, has been either appointed or reappointed by President Obama. This is Obama's FERC, and they're doing exactly what he wants them to do. He's the fracking commander-in-chief. He's the lead cheerleader for fracking. Hillary Clinton is the same. As Secretary of State, she pushed fracking around the world. So I think we need to keep those things in mind. You know, Obama is marginally better than Bush or Romney, truthfully. And here in New York, Governor Cuomo has talked about climate change, and he's against fracking, but we'll find out when these infrastructures get approved, if they get approved by DEC, where the governor really stands. Because if these infrastructures get approved, the governor and New York State are very much in favor of fracking, just so long as it happens somewhere else, which is kind of turning the golden rule on its head. And I just got a letter from Barack Obama. It's sort of a form letter to anybody that writes him about climate change, but it ends with a sentence: when our children's children look us in the eye and ask if we did all we could to leave them a safer, more stable world, I want to be able to say, yes, we did. And frankly, I think he's kidding himself, and I think this entire issue is going to be his Vietnam. So I think he's open.
Thank you for your comments.
It's a shame, and it's the remainder of his time. Thank you.
Number 49.
Why do you limit us to 3 minutes when we were invaded from out-of-town people?
Hello. I signed up as Pope Francis because I hoped he might make it tonight. and address us about the suffering that global warming is causing and will cause. You're the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. You need to regulate finite commodities like coal, oil, and gas. The prices for finite commodities can be manipulated. Inexhaustible sources don't need you. They need you to get out of the way. Married to another inexhaustible resource, the innovation and creativity of American citizens. We're about to embark on a very exciting time. Inexhaustible sources of energy is a very exciting idea. I look forward to many unionized and worker-owned companies installing solar and wind energy across New York and the world. Our energy used to come from coal in part. We remember where the government was when coal miners fought for their jobs and safety. They sided with the wealthy mine owners. Inexhaustible free sources of energy will just cut the thieves and their flunkies out of the equation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That was the last speaker who had signed up on our list. Are there any people who did not have an opportunity to speak earlier who would wish to speak now? You need to raise your hand. Well, if I don't see any hands up, what that means is that we're going to conclude this meeting.
What about the people?
On the behalf of the FERC, I'd like to thank you all for coming here tonight to help us focus the environmental review process on those issues of concern to you. Let the record show that this meeting ended at 9:26. Thank you all. Safe travels home.
FERC hurts families! FERC hurts families!